Okay, moving forward, recreating the American Longhunter. I keep wanting to say rifleman. To cover the back, the clothing of the Longhunter. Now that I have given you a bit of a feel for what these men were like, let's examine some first-hand observations of what they look like, beginning with Smith. This is in quotes. Their whole dress is also very singular and not very materially different from that of the Indians, being a hunting shirt somewhat resembling a wagoner's frock, ornamented with a great many fringes, tied around the middle with a broad belt, much decorated also, in which is fastened a tomahawk. The shot bag and powder horn, carved with a variety of whimsical figures and devices, hang from their necks over one shoulder, and on their heads a flapped hat of a reddish hue proceeding from the intensely hot beams of sun. Sometimes they wear leather breeches made of Indian dressed elk or deer skins, but more frequently than trousers. On their legs they have Indian boots or leggings made of coarse woolen cloth that either are wrapped round loosely and tied with garters, or are laced upon the outside and always come better than halfway up the thigh. On their feet they sometimes wear pumps of their own manufacture, but generally Indian moccasins of their own construction also, which are made of strong elk's or buck's skin, dressed soft as for gloves or breeches, drawn together in regular plates over the toe, and lacing from thence round to the forepart of the middle of the ankle without a seam in them, yet fitting close to the feet, and are indeed perfectly easy and pliant. Thus habited and accoutred, with his rifle upon his shoulder or in his hand, a backwoodsman is completely equipped for visiting, courtship, travel, hunting, or war. The hunting rifle shirt, though somewhat resembling a wagoner's frock, according to Smith, is not one. The hunting rifle is not one. Writing in 1780, John Trumbull stated, "There is no more resemblance between the two dresses than between a cloak and a coat." He described the wagoner's frock as merely a long, coarse shirt reaching below the knee, which also describes the English workingman's smock, whereas the hunting shirt was an elegant, loose dress reaching the middle of the thigh, ornamented with fringes in various parts. All but a very few descriptions of hunting rifle shirts, it says hunting/rifle shirts, indicate that they are open-fronted. The few remaining descriptions, like Trumbull's, are silent on the subject, but they are never described as being a pullover, like a regular shirt, wagoner's frock, or smock. Smith mentions later that their hunting or rifle shirts they have also dyed in a variety of colors, some yellow, others red, some brown, and many wear them quite white. Doddridge was a little more descriptive of the hunting shirt, which he described as being universally worn. This is Smith again in quotes. This was a kind of loose frock reaching halfway down the thighs with large sleeves, open before and so wide as to lap over a foot or more when belted. The cap was large and sometimes handsomely fringed with a raveled piece of cloth of a different color from that of the hunting shirt itself. The bosom of this dress served as a wallet to hold a chunk of bread, cakes, jerk, toe for wiping the barrel of the rifle, or any other necessary for the hunter or warrior. The belt, which is also tied behind, answered several purposes besides that of holding the dress together. In cold weather, the mittens and sometimes the bullet bag occupied the front part of it. To the right side was suspended the tomahawk, and to the left the scalping knife in its leathern sheath. The hunting shirt was generally made of linsey, sometimes of coarse linen, and a few of dressed deerskins. These last were very cold and uncomfortable in wet weather. The shirt and jacket were of common fashion. Please note his comment about deerskin shirts. He says nothing about them keeping out the wind better than wool or linen, nor anything about their durability. They did exist, if only for expedience, but they were obviously not popular. Silas Deane, a Connecticut congressman, also described the hunting shirt, in quotes, "They take a piece of Ticklenburg or toe cloth that is stout and put it in a tan vat until it has the shade of a dry or fading leaf. Then they make a kind of frock of it, reaching below the knee, open before, with a large cape. They wrap it around them tight on a march and tie it with their belt in which hangs their tomahawk." End of quote. Today it seems that many people make a point of the hunting shirt being different from the hunting frock, which the idea that the former is a pullover type and the latter being the open-fronted affair. This differentiation does not seem to have been made in the 18th century. The terms seem to have been used interchangeably, with the preferred term being shirt. Please note that both Doddridge and Dean describe the hunting shirt as being like a frock, being open before. I think they mean open front. Here I should point out that the term frock in the 18th century refers to a coat following the fashionable silhouette, though looser and simpler in cut, worn by English gentlemen while in the country. The hunting shirt is also described as having a large cape. While cape is simply an 18th century term for collar, the size is indicated by several period drawings. The fact that many of the drawings are quite crude and the artist was not quite sure what it was he was seeing. At least one painting, Trumbull's Death of General Montgomery, admittedly done in the first few years of the 19th century, but done using clothing and accoutrements that survived the war, and several extant examples in various collections. In my opinion, the only thing that qualifies as a hunting shirt in the 18th century meaning of the term is the short, open-fronted, large caped and fringed model. The long, plain pullover model was worn by white hunters, but it was not called a hunting shirt. It was simply a smock, or, as I already mentioned, was often called a wagoner's frock. The latter term was, I believe, originally something of a joke, rather like calling bib overalls a Tennessee tuxedo. In any case, it is interesting to note that two of the most famous frontiersmen, Daniel Boone and Daniel Morgan, were both wagoners. Contrary to Mark Banker's fine book, Sons of the Trackless Forest, wherein he suggests that the hunting shirt was part of George Washington's Indian dress, Nicholas Creswell noted in 1775 that the Indians did not like to see people in their country wearing hunting shirts, and so he took his off and changed into the aforesaid Indian dress, which includes a calico shirt that is decorated with silver brooches. Until very late in the century, post-revolution, Indian dress did not include the hunting shirt. To further complicate matters, though, Creswell insists that the Indians did not like to see the hunting shirt in their country. The first appearance of the open-fronted shirt, though without the large cape or fringe, is on an Indian. The 1710 portrait of Saga Yeath Qua Piethto, a Mohawk member of the Iroquois, I can never see that right, delegation to London, shows just a shirt. The manner in which he wears it is unusual, as he has his right arm through the sleeve, the left sleeve and back of the shirt draped around behind under the left arm. I think I've seen this before. Like the guy didn't finish putting it on. The front halves overlapping and tied with a sash. When the white man may have opted to wear the open fronted shirt remains unclear, but it did exist early on in the century, though its first documented appearance on white men is not until 1770. A 1770 description of the Paxton Boys making a raid on Philadelphia. Though the description of the Paxton Boys merely says hunting shirts without commenting on their appearance or construction. I believe this to be the item with a fringe and large cape. I'm going to hold it right there. Love you. God bless.